Okay, I want to welcome everyone to the Midweek Huddle session. Um, as I said, you're doing really well. Just Monday was really tough for me because I had so many classes to grade, and I wanted to get your work back to you as soon as I could. So this week will be a little more challenging because I'm currently teaching 7 classes and I have essays in every class this week. So in next week, once you write your essay for this week, I will probably be a little behind. I won't be able to get everything back by Monday, but you should have it back obviously before Friday, but hopefully no later than Wednesday of next week. So I want to talk a little bit today about essay writing, and I want to take you on a little journey with me. So everyone's logged into Nearpod, correct? Okay, so you should be seeing on your screen, great, thanks Jess, you should be seeing the title. If you're not seeing that, you could unmute and tell me. Awesome. So maybe a lot of this you know, and maybe some of this will be a little bit unfamiliar to you. So where are we? Somebody unmute and tell us. What are we looking at?
Egypt.
Nice. And what do we see?
Pyramid.
So when you think about a pyramid, because I like to think about writing as constructing, what are the physical attributes of a pyramid? Think about the one you just saw, which is also located right up here. You can type your answers right in the screen there and they'll pop up. You can obviously put more than one response. Okay. So handmade, man-made, old, I don't like to think of your... Hi, you're in the class. Who's this?
Every week I have to check with Big Sean.
Brianne? Okay. So, I'm sorry about that. Handmade, man-made, old starts with a large base and climaxes at a single point at the top and has lots of bricks and is a sanctuary. All good responses. Jessica is a little closer to what we're looking for when we relate this to writing. Whoa. Our pyramid is now upside down. And here's where I want to introduce the concept of your introduction, which is so important. I can't stress this enough to you, that when you are reading anything, excuse me. Hi, Brianna.
Oh, hi.
How are you?
Good. I don't know.
Okay. That's okay. You can see. Can you see my screen?
Now I can.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you to do this. Open up another tab and type in nearpod.com. And then you're going to put this code in. And do you see the code right in the upper left corner? Okay. And then I'm just going to ask you to mute your audio. Everyone's on mute. Okay. Okay, so we're going to talk about the inverted period in the introduction. As I was saying, it's so important when you open a book, when you're reading a newspaper, uh, even when you're reading an email. That introduction is worth more probably than what's in the body, because it can really make you close the cover of that book or X out of that email or even go to another article in the newspaper. So what you want to do is you want to think about your introduction as having a very broad top but working down to a fine point. Let's look at that in more detail. Why is an essay introduction like an inverted pyramid? What do I mean by that? Why do you have to have a broad top and a point right at the end? You can type your response right in the area provided. Any other responses? Okay, so you can see what your peers said. You want to introduce what you're talking about and then draw it to the at the end of the bottom. You're kind of getting it. You get attention and then give them, I think Kevin meant to write finale, to get the reader's attention right at the beginning, maybe because it's shorter than most parts that you write. This is true, Brianna. And then to grab the reader's attention and make them want to read it. Okay, but why a broad base and then working down to a fine point? Let's take a look at that. Your introduction should only be 3 to 5 sentences. You don't want to get into any more depth than that. That's a general rule. Can you write 6? Will I take off points if you write 6? No. Um, will I take off points if you write 2? Yes, because you missed one of the steps. So let's take a look at what an introduction is. It has a very broad base, and that broad base equates to being very general. This is where your hook is. This is where you gain the reader's attention, which many of you said in the last exercise that we did together. So you're going to gain their attention by creating a hook, and we're going to look at what a hook is and how you can become better at writing those. Then you're going to start narrowing down. And you're going to start thinking about, well, I need to get to this thesis here. And the thesis introduces the main arguments of your essay. The thesis is the single most important sentence in your essay because it really tells the reader not only what you're going to talk about, but why it's important that they read this. So you start in very general terms talking about something. Then you have what I call a bridge right in the middle. General information about the topic, but you're starting to put it together to get down to this very fine point. Okay. We're going to watch a short video. We're not going to watch the whole thing on how to build a better hook. Can you all hear that? Somebody tell me.
It's very low.
It's very low. It's on your device, so you should be able to turn up your volume and hear it.
You're inviting them in to crawl out of their primordial ooze and evolve their way of thinking. If you begin with just a whimper, no one's going to want to come along for the ride.
Kevin, any better?
No, my speaker's all the way up.
Anybody else having the same problem?
Yes.
Okay. If Kevin, try this for me. If you unmute your side, will you hear it better? I'm going to play it now.
There are many ways to open your recipe or to cook an egg or to skin a cat.
It's a little better, but not much.
Okay. All right. I don't know why that's happening because it's playing perfectly fine here. I'm going to try one more thing.
Although, if you're the type of person in cats,
Better.
writing a grabby intro sentence is the least of your problems. The main thing you want to do is give your reader some context. Ask yourself, why are you writing this report? Because your teacher told you to is really not the right answer. So they said. Don't state the obvious. Then don't open with a summary. If you find yourself saying, my essay is about, then you need to put a lid on that faster than you would last week's tuna casserole leftovers. You should show us what your essay is about, not tell us. How do you show what your essay is about? Well, it's simple. In theory, just make a connection to a larger event. Can you relate the past to something modern? Yeah, like that. It's like bringing old-fashioned back in style. There's always some way to make it work. Most importantly, have fun with it. Quote a song. Include some dialogue. Make a witty pop culture reference. Tell an anecdote. Just make sure it's relevant. Unlike those first 5 minutes of every Simpsons episode that really have nothing to do with what comes next.
Okay. I'm back. We're going to stop there. From a general statement about the topic to a question that you ask your reader to a historical reference, dialogue, a quote. Any of those are good ways to open your introduction and hook your reader. Does anyone have any questions so far about introductions? So, before I told you that the thesis, that fine point, the point at the end of the pyramid, is the most important and essential sentence of your essay. It provides the reader with a map to guide him or her through your work. It anticipates and refutes counter-arguments if you're writing an argument essay, right? The essay that you're writing this week is a profile. It's a little bit different. The essay that you're going to be submitting in 2 weeks will be more of a thesis than you realize. And I see, it will be more of a traditional essay. I see a spelling error right there, right? There's your English teacher. I'll have to repair that. So it anticipates and refutes counter-arguments. It avoids vague language like it seems, or first person, I believe, in my opinion. Now again, for this week's profile, different type of writing. Not that you don't have to have a thesis. I should be able to identify one towards the end of your introduction or towards the end of the second paragraph. We normally find it in a traditional essay at the end of an introduction. So again, the thesis should not